Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Cheryl Peck, and I would like to welcome you to Teamcenter X, a modern PLM solution, a collaborative webinar brought to you by CIMdata and Siemens Digital Industry Software. Today, I am joined by CIMdata Executive Consultant Ken Amon, who will be our host for this webinar. During the webinar, we would like to hear your opinions and welcome your questions. To ask a question, enter it into the GoToWebinar question panel, and we'll get an answer to you after the conclusion of the webinar. The webinar is being recorded. Now, I would like to hand you over to my colleague, Ken Amon. Ken, over to you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I appreciate you taking your time today to join us for this webinar. I'm going to spend some time talking about what goes into a modern PLM solution, and then a little bit about Teamcenter X and what Siemens has and how they're addressing and solving those issues. Briefly, I'd like to tell you a little bit about CIMdata if you don't know us. We are a global strategic consulting management company. We are focused on PLM and how it can help digitally transformation. We are dedicated to maximizing our clients' ability to create new products and be innovative in how they run their business and support that through the application of PLM. We really have three major areas that we address. One is research, in which we look at the market, understand how the market is growing, look at a variety of different types of research in both internal and external, and provide reports on the health and growth of the market. Education is a very key part of our business, and this webinar is part of that, in which we're trying to help educate the community as what is PLM, what are the vendors doing, what are people doing, and how you can use that more effectively. And then primarily consulting. We consult both with the industrial companies that are trying to apply PLM technologies to improve their business, and to the vendor community who are developing those solutions. A little bit about me. I've been around a long time. I've been working for about 50 years or so. A lot of experience in development of PLM and PDM. I graduated in '67 and started working as an aerospace engineer in the Saturn Apollo program. Moved from there over time into working with Control Data in the early days of its PLM PDM program. So I've spent a lot of time in PDM working with IT architects, computer-based engineering, all of the types of things that you see in types of implementing that. I have held a variety of positions, including PLM program manager, flight dynamics manager, and then I was 10 years as CIMdata's research director. So what do you want you to get out of this webinar? Well, there are 4 or 5 important things to think about. We're going to talk about Teamcenter X as a modern SaaS PLM solution. But why do people care? So one of the important takeaways is that manufacturers do need these types of solutions. We're going to talk a little bit about the problems with their increasing complexity and why these types of solutions are important to help them deal with it. One of the things that people need to understand, and you need to know about Teamcenter X, it's a fully functional, future-ready SaaS solution. They've really done a great job evolving this, built using microservices and cloud services, and it's applicable for companies of all sizes across any type of industry. There is a common code base that's shared between on-premises Teamcenter and Teamcenter X, and it provides the ability to migrate tailored or customized Teamcenter instances from on-premises to the cloud, and people can then migrate when they want to at their own pace. You're not being forced to choose between Teamcenter on the cloud or Teamcenter on-premise. And one of the key things I think that's been a strength of Teamcenter and Teamcenter X is that they enable a complete and comprehensive actionable digital twin that covers mechanical, electrical, and software across the extended enterprise and across the complete product lifecycle. So we'll talk a little bit about each of these types of things as we go through the next few minutes, and hopefully you'll gain a better understanding of what all this can do. So one of the first 2 things we really need to think about, it's a pretty complex and highly competitive world out there. All of our products continue to become more complex. People want them to be more personalized. They're more connected. They're more interconnected. It's systems and systems of systems. and more that software and electronics are the defining functional differentiation in a product. For years, it was the mechanical aspects of a product that made the difference between how things worked and what was the features of one product versus another. Today, in more and more products, the embedded software and the embedded electronics are the area where functional differentiation is made. And you look at perhaps 70% of products have the functional differentiation coming from software and electronics. If you look at a car, 20 years ago, it was all mechanical. Today, it's 80 to 90% electronics and software are making the difference. So a huge change in terms of that. So this complexity continues to grow. It's not getting simpler, and it's having big impacts on a lot of different things. So as companies are developing more complex products, they have to have better, more innovative, more capable development, production, and service capabilities to manage these complex products. So they really got to work across an extended life cycle value chain. So all the way from inception, when someone gets a good idea about these things, what's a great product? What could be a neat product that our customers would like? To how do we develop it? How do we validate it? How do we produce it? How do we deliver it and service it? How do we make sure it stays at maximum operational capability for the customers? You know, so this is changing how companies are developing products, the tools they need to use, the information that they need to do that. Then how they're being produced, where they're being produced. New techniques are being brought aboard. We're going into things like generative design and coming up with organic, interesting looking shapes and designs that we could never do before, and that's requiring us to do different kinds of production. So we're going to additive manufacturing and hybrid manufacturing, and we're also seeing service becoming more and more important. Companies are no longer just selling a product, they're selling an end result. The classic example of this is in the aerospace world and the airlines, where airline manufacturers, they don't buy aircraft engines anymore. They rent power by the hour, and that's what they want. So they depend on the manufacturer of the engine to service it and take care of it, but they've got to coordinate that. So we're seeing new business models evolve in terms of how things are being used and how they're being serviced. It's no longer just a warranty and maintenance problem. It becomes a fundamental business issue of how they're trying to do that. One of the other things that's happening as we're getting more and more connected, we're getting more and more information from these smart products. We're trying to derive more and more actionable insights from the ever increasing and ever expanding systems that we have. So we have more and more sources of information. Some of it's structured, some of it's very well maintained. Some of it's very unstructured. It may be coming from social media or some other types of things. And it's some of it's coming from the product, where we've got them instrumented, and we're getting performance and wear information and things of that nature, and duty cycles that are coming from the products themselves. Some of it is coming from the extended enterprise, where we're finding out how we're developing things, what materials are being used, a variety of neat kinds of things like that. But this avalanche of data, avalanche of information that's coming through us needs to be managed, and it needs to be managed in a way that we can find the information that we need. It's not good enough to be able to just do a Google search and get back 10 million hits. That really doesn't help a designer or a service person or a manufacturing person or even a customer, really. What they want to do is when they go out and search and look for information, they want the information that comes back to them to be appropriate for their needs, to be in their context. And so when we're looking for actionable data, that's what we mean. It's results and information that the individual, whatever their task is, whether they're an end user or a designer, production line worker, that they can take action based on this information, this data that they're getting. Another thing that's important is that we're trying to find and create and must have end-to-end digital threads and comprehensive digital twins. When we talk about that, and we'll give you definitions of each of these things later in this presentation, you need those to be able to find the information, to connect the information together across that extended enterprise, and then use that information to really be able to innovate. And we want to innovate not just on the products that were being developed and creating new and better products, but we need to innovate and optimize the processes that are being used to develop those products, that are being used to build those products, and that are being used to service and operate those products. So it's a very complex world out there, and all of this information is growing, all being driven by lots of different things. People want, and customers want, a more personalized environment. So they want that complex product to be tailored for their specific needs. And this becomes more and more difficult to do when you have more and more variations out there. So being able to manage that information, get that information, being able to personalize that information becomes more and more important to us. It's also a challenging world. They're being challenged to keep up with evolution and introduction of new technologies. Nothing's changed. Moore's law keeps saying we're going to increase rapidly every 2 years. We're going to double. And that hasn't changed in 3 or 4 decades. What we are seeing is an explosion of new capabilities, things like artificial intelligence that now really can do something. Artificial intelligence has been around for a long time, but only in the last few years have we really been able to apply it and really get some benefits out of it. Machine learning, so we can gather insight as things go along. Using things like augmented reality to be able to overlay a digital image on top of a physical product so we can see things about it and gather information from it. So I can take my smart device, my iPhone or my Samsung phone or my tablet, point it at a physical product, and then bring up the digital insights and highlights of it that might show me what it looks like on the inside, or bring up things like how do I service it or do things with that. So we've got multiple new types of technology. We've got multiple new types of delivery platforms. Used to be primarily on-premise and handheld devices. Now we're getting to things like cloud delivery, more and more, becoming much more and more common. Edge computing. Well, why do we have to have edge computing? Because so much information is being created, we can't bring it all back to a central location and store it. We need to analyze and use some of that at the edge where the device or the product itself is, and solve our problems and address some of the analytics that we need to look at this data that's being created at the edge and at the point of creation. More and more companies worry about protecting and leveraging their business investments. It's an investment in technology, it's an investment in people, it's an investment in their facilities, it's investment in their IP, their intellectual property, and they want to maintain all of that, and they need to be able to evolve it and bring it forward. They need to be able to adapt to new business challenges, but they don't want to have to rip and replace whenever that evolution occurs. And so they need environments that allow industrial companies that are trying to become more innovative to be able to do that, to be able to adapt as things change without having to really have major disruption in their IT environments or their processes and impact on their people. So that's an evolution that's going on, and that's going to continue to go because we continue to move to new generations of solutions. We continue to create new technology that has to be embedded or brought into these areas. So we want to be able to better leverage that investment where I've spent money to train people, to buy technology, to update a facility or build a facility. I want whatever that investment is to be able to carry forward. I want to make it as future-proof as possible. And I must be able to do this with actually fewer resources. I can't just continue to spend money to buy more things. I can't continue to hire more people. I can't continue to build more factories just so I can have multiple production lines. So I can't throw bodies at the problem, so to speak. So what I really want to be able to do is to get more out of the resources that I have, to make them more productive, to make them more empowered, and to get more from them, so that with fewer people I can actually do more. And certainly things like COVID-19 are straining our ability to work that. It's forced us to think about how do we work and how do we collaborate. In some cases, we can't work together. I can't be sitting next to the person that I'm jointly working on a project with and turn and ask them how to do something. I may have to work with them remotely. So I may be at my home, they may be at their home. Somebody may be at an office, somebody may be else in another dispersed location. So it's impacting our work environments and the process, the way we work together. And I think over time, this is going to have some long-term impact and long-term effects. So it's being a challenge. So as companies adopt and adapt to these new challenges, they need new tools and new capabilities to help them do that. Okay. Digital transformation has been a key to success, and it's becoming more and more important. We talk about digitizing things. We've been doing that for many, many years. However, digitizing is simply not enough. Companies need to digitalize their business, and there is a difference between digitizing and digitalization. Okay, you need to be able to use digital technology, digital media, and change your process, change how you work in order to really transform your business. You really have to be able to do true end-to-end life cycle innovation and optimization. You need to dissolve the boundaries between how you do product development and product innovation, and what is your base platform for doing that, the base technologies that you're using for concept development, and then the other innovation platforms that you use, whether they're manufacturing or administration, service, sales, and marketing. You need to really be able to flow information across that, and you need to be able to do that seamlessly as possible. And that means you need to digitally transform how you work. So establishing that seamless integration becomes a key to success. And the other piece of that is that once I've begun to establish this capability, I need to have what's called closed loop feedback. I need to be able to feed back information upstream and downstream between the various domains. So I need to gather service information that says, oh, we're having a problem with this product. It's either not working efficiently, it's not working as expected, or it's failing too frequently. And I need to feed that information back to, for instance, research and development, into the design aspect. So can we go back and look at the design and say, oh, well, we can improve the design so we don't get as many failures. Or we can go feed that back into manufacturing that says, we're getting more wear on this product is being used because the manufacturing tolerance wasn't correct, or we're using a material that's not quite correct. So we can feed that back into manufacturing. So we need to have these closed loop feedbacks between what's going on with the physical product and then what's going on with the virtual product as we design them, and the product related processes that are used to create them. So we're going to see that, but being able to do that, being able to digitally transform how companies work is a big thing to do. So here are a couple definitions. Digitalization, it's the process of moving information from paper to digital forms, computer files, whatever they happen to be. It's just going from analog to digital. Digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change the business model. So instead of doing things on paper in an old process, we can create a new way of working. We can create a new way of dealing with something. We can change how we use that digital information in terms of how we work in our business and create more value and create more business and revenue. Now, there's an interesting article that was done by Gartner, and you can see the reference to that. To do this transformation, to do this digital transformation requires digitalization, and that requires using new tools and new solutions to be able to do that. When we get into what we're trying to accomplish, I mentioned earlier that we need a digital thread and a digital twin. So what are these things? Well, a digital thread is simply basically a communication framework. It's going to connect the information that's being created and the flow of that information So it can be used to produce a complete view of an asset's data, of a product, of a plant, whatever it is, from the physical and virtual systems. So we can begin to integrate that information, and we can use it across its life cycle. So the digital thread needs to start from concept. When we get an idea and begin to develop requirements, and we gather information and add more information, and we do that as we go through development, through validation, through production, as we get out into service, as the customer uses the product, that information and that flow of information is consistent and is maintained without breakage. So that's what we call the digital thread. Using that digital thread is fundamental to helping manage and use a digital twin. So what's a digital twin? It's simply a virtual representation, the surrogate of a physical asset or collection of assets, okay, that exploits that data that flow from across that thread to and from the physical asset. So the virtual representation and the physical representation, as they evolve, they are continually evolving, and so the virtual representation will accompany the real world companion throughout the life cycle. So as something is changed in the service world, we update and service a product in the field, we want to make sure that that is fed back through that closed loop process, so that it gets back to the physical, to the virtual representation, to the design, so to speak, update the model of it, so that these two stay in sync consistently throughout whatever configuration changes are made, throughout whatever different types of things are made. So this becomes a real key to bringing these two together. So you want to make sure that your digital twin always represents exactly the physical asset that it is the twin of. This becomes a real key for what we want to do. So the digital thread and the digital twin are core concepts that are part of digital transformation. You have to have this information flow that spans the entire life cycle and use that information flow so that you can link together what goes on with the physical asset back to its virtual representation. So what are some of the tools that you have for digital transformation? Well, some of the requirements, they must address all aspects of the business. It has to address people, process, and technology, because these things are evolving. So for people, you're seeing new things like adaptive UIs. We're embedding artificial intelligence in there, using more visual technology. We're putting things into context. The process now span the life cycle, that full digital thread. It's crossing domain boundaries, it's crossing enterprise boundaries. And then the technology, we're looking at low-code types of things. We're looking at new integration tools, using SaaS, using cloud services. So these are all evolutions that are helping drive that digital transformation. The technology evolution is ensuring that this can go forward. Okay, it's driving enterprise level product and process information, and it's continuing to evolve and move. However, you've got to be able to enable that evolution in all areas of the business. You can't just do it in part of it. If you only do it in one part of it, then you will not be able to get the benefits and what you need out of that. So whether it's from market requirements, dealing with product complexity, how you're going to handle production or distributed production if you're working it globally, especially things like regulatory compliance, and then service. These all have to be enabled, all have to be part of new environments. So a modern PLM environment must enable what's going on across all of these new domains. So what's been one of the issues that we've had? Well, we've had PLM for a long time. So people say, well, haven't we solved this problem? Yes and no. We've certainly gotten significant benefits over the years from implementing PLM, but we haven't necessarily used it across the extended enterprise for a couple of reasons. Older solutions were designed really by engineers for engineers. The early PLM environments were designed to address engineering problems, even though we talked about them being used across the enterprise. But they weren't really designed to do that. They weren't architected for the enterprise and were difficult to implement across the enterprise. And even when they were, and as they began to evolve, and the vendors who have done a great job of evolving their solutions, began to put in the capabilities to handle the more and more of the enterprise, the companies that were implementing didn't necessarily take full implementation advantage of that capability. There was PLM solutions tend to have a lot more available capability than any company is able to take advantage of at any point in time. There's only so much that you can adapt and incorporate in a given time frame. It impacts people, it impacts your processes, it impacts your corporate structures. So it takes time to involve these. So for years, we weren't really getting the full benefits that we wanted. We're seeing modern solutions, though, help us begin to do that more effectively. So modern solutions have to support those multi-domain environments. They have to look at the full enterprise and not just the given corporation, but their partners and their customers. So across what we now call the value chain. And they have to be able to grow as they do that. So to do this, what we're seeing is the adoption and the incorporation of what we call platform-based PLM data and process management as a backbone. And we use platforms because a platform provides a more robust, more adaptable capability to be able to make change over time. It's designed to evolve. It's designed to allow you to put in new capabilities, and now allow you to replace capabilities. So it's an evolution that has gone on over the years as we've moved from going from old technologies into new technologies to much more modern technologies. We've moved from base core functional-based PLM solutions to creating these platform-based PLM backbones. So some of the characteristics: modern, adaptable, and scalable architectures. We know that the environment's going to change. The architecture has to be designed for change. It must be able to be delivered in multiple ways. It's got to be on premise. It's got to be able to be on a cloud, and in many cases in a hybrid structure. Customers are going to use different devices. They're going to use smartphones. They're going to use tablets. There'll be less desktops. There'll be shop floor machinery. So it can't only be delivered in one mechanism. It has to have multiple ways to be delivered. And certainly because we're expanding across that enterprise and we're going to be adding more and more capabilities and therefore more and more users, it has to be able to scale up or down as demand dictates. So if I need more capabilities, I want to be able to get it, and I want to be able to get it quickly. And that includes things like functional capabilities, add new modules, new locations. I want to start up a new factory. I want to add a new engineering center. And certainly the user counts. I want to be able to add the number of users, or to bring in new users and put them on a given project. Or when the project is over, I want to be able to take them off of that project, reduce the user count, maybe even reduce the types of modules that I'm using. I want to be able to get started faster. One of the issues that we fought with over the years is how long does it take to get up and be productive and get benefits when I'm implementing PLM? And years ago, that took a long time because everything was so customized. We didn't have the modern environments that we have today. Today, customers want to be able to start up within days, weeks, or in some cases hours with new capabilities, and therefore get started fast, get to benefits faster, and get a more rapid return on the investment that's being made. Certainly because we're sharing things more, we're having more people involved, and we're in many cases moving things to the cloud. Strong security is a real key. You must maintain and protect your intellectual property. And we want to implement that full digital thread and that comprehensive digital twin. Okay. No one vendor is going to be able to provide everything that a given company needs. So you need to be able to establish an open ecosystem that connects with other business systems, whether they're in-house systems or they're the systems of partners, or whether they're the connected devices. You need to be able to connect to them whether they're local and on-premise, or they're in the cloud or remote, or they're at the edge. So you need this ecosystem that you can connect and enable. And you have to be able to do that with a variety of different types of things, different types of functionality, different functional domains. You need easy applications that are easier to use, that people can start up and get to them faster, that they can make use of them quicker without a lot of training or education. You want to be able to solve complex problems and address specific business needs, and these will vary by business, even in the same industry. And certainly you want to use best practices as much as possible wherever possible. You want to enforce standards and processes across the environment. So you want an environment that will guide users in what they're doing, so they don't have to think about, well, what is the standard I need to be using here? When they get to a particular function that they're going to perform, a particular task, you want the environment to recognize what that task is and what are the standards that are applicable to doing it, so that it can guide the users through using those and prevent them from doing something that is going to violate the standards or the best practice. And you certainly want things to be more personalized and tailored. We've seen that become more and more. I've talked about that in the challenges area. Everybody wants it their way. So you want things to be personalized and tailored at the corporate level. Here's how my corporation works, at the individual business unit and the functional domains, and even down to the individual. So you want something that can be modified and tailored, but yet sustained and carried forward as you begin to move forward over time. So that's kind of a background of where we've been and some of all the things that you need to consider. So the next few slides, we're going to talk about Teamcenter X. It's a modern PLM solution, and it draws on information that we've done in 2 recent publications. We've done a commentary delivering a modern PLM solution called Teamcenter X, and then we're in the process of releasing a ebook which has got more detail on it, and that's in Teamcenter X. And links of these are provided at the end of this document, at the end of this webinar. So let's talk about Teamcenter X, which was announced this summer by Siemens Digital Industry Software. It's a significant evolution of Teamcenter. It's not a revolution, but a significant evolution. It is a fully functional, future-ready SaaS solution. It's not a subset of Teamcenter. It is a full implementation of Teamcenter, and it's designed to support and be used by any industry and companies of any size. So you don't have to be a large company. It's really designed to be easily adoptable and used by small to medium-sized businesses also. It's built using industrial components, modern cloud capabilities, and one of the things that's important, it really continues to show Siemens' commitment to future-proof. That's been a Siemens strategy for many years, in which they try to design and build their products so that they can more easily evolve and go forward, and reduce the amount of cost and investment and potential disruption as their industrial users and customers migrate from one level of one release of their products to the next. So it also incorporates things like multi-tenant cloud implementation. It leverages Mindex, which is a low-code platform that's being adopted more and more widely inside the Siemens Accelerator portfolio to help develop ease of use, user interfaces, to do customized and personalized application development and integration to other parts of the business, to help be able to build those connections to the other parts of the value chain. As I said, this is a cloud native solution. So cloud services are used for critical PLM components. It uses Amazon's RDS cloud database services as an underlying database. It's designed with containerization. This is important because it helps for portability, to be able to move it forward, to put things in and out of it. And it's built on microservices, both for performance and cost optimizations, to help be able to call on services rather than having to reinvent them or to use them. And these microservices are not just being used within Teamcenter X. Many of these microservices are built on Mindex, and they are being used in other solutions being provided by Siemens in their products, so that these services are sharing those capabilities. And again, that helps the flexibility and that be able to carry it and go forward. The cloud delivery as with any type of cloud delivered solution, certainly helps the ability to scale to any size at any time. So the number of users, the number of sites, the number of functional modules, you can add those without having to try and how long is it going to take me to implement this and install it on all these different desktops or servers scattered around the world. You can bring them online immediately. And the other thing you can do to help for the scaling is easily add computing nodes to maintain performance levels as the solution is scaled up. And this is not only maintain performance levels as numbers of users are added or numbers of functional modules, but when you're talking about doing simulation and driving some simulation from the cloud, it gives you the capability of essentially to have a high performance computing center automatically grow as you need it. Teamcenter was designed to help support and implement digital threads and the digital twin to enable the ability to really have that full, what they call an actionable, comprehensive digital twin. And this means that it's a multi-domain capability. So the digital twin and the thread support the mechanical, the electronics, and the software from a development and configuration standpoint, but also the functional areas of development, production, and service. In the graphic, you kind of look at that, it kind of just gives a high-level example of different kinds of things. So when you see the term digital twin, different people and different companies have different terms that they use for that and different meanings. In Siemens, it means it's a comprehensive twin. It means it spans all of these areas. So there's a virtual product. So that's a virtual representation that you may think about as from a design standpoint, but there's also the ability to look at a digital twin in production, to virtualize, to have a virtual representation of the factory of how you're going to build this product. And then once you produce the product, you want to maintain that virtual representation of it in service. So how's it working in performance? So there's a digital twin that covers the performance aspects of it. While these they seem like different digital twins, they're all connected together, and it all is under one umbrella as a comprehensive digital twin. Okay. Some of the other types of things that you would get from a modern system and you expect and you see in Teamcenter is certainly that instant on rapid startup, that ability, because it's cloud delivered, to be able to go to the cloud, say, I want to use this, start it up rapidly, and be able to have rapid access to it and rapidly onboard users, regardless of their location. We talked about that briefly in the previous slide. You can grow the environment as you need. You can add the capabilities that you want. You don't have to just work hard to implement it in a given area. So you can, if you need new capabilities, a new functional module, you can add them at any time. And I'll give you an example of some of those in a moment. Siemens offers a wide variety of domain-specific capabilities. All of them incorporate industry best practices. They've all been pre-configured with such capabilities as appropriate workflows, integrations where they're needed, and they're designed to simplify the PLM processes that they support. They are production ready. They're ready for easy on, quick start, and all of them can be scaled to support complex business scenarios. So you can start with what Siemens provides in their functional domains, and you can use the tools that Siemens also provides, such as Mindex, to scale it and to add capabilities that are unique to your business. And part of what Siemens provides in support of this is they have various industry experts and implementation experts to guide customers through the implementation process. Siemens talked about personalization, the use of Mindex to rapidly create company-unique composite applications. These are applications that draw from multiple sources. So you may need to get information and data from different repositories, maybe something from your ERP system, something from your service, your SLM system, something from your part of information from your development environment. These can all be created and brought together using the tools that Mindex provide, and you can do that across the extended enterprise. So it's not just things within the company. You can use Mindex to reach out into a partner application if it has permission to do so. You can rapidly create integrations to different types of business applications. Here are just some of the examples of those, as well as your company in-house developed applications. And in many cases, for things like ERP or CRM or MRO, Siemens is providing already built applications linked to Teamcenter X. You can migrate those. What's important is the ability to migrate these specific processes in these composite applications over time. Certainly, once you develop it, you know that your business is going to change. You know that it's going to evolve. And Siemens has worked hard to help develop that environment built under Teamcenter X to allow you to migrate. When you do a migration, you go to release A to release B of Teamcenter or Teamcenter X, you can migrate those unique applications that you built with a minimum of effort. You can add and tailor the Siemens functional modules as well as your own unique applications. You can adopt to add their business modules. I talked a little bit about that. Just some examples of that. They have a comprehensive variant configurator to manage complex products and product families. And the graphic just shows you an example of that and some of its capabilities. There are things for capital asset lifecycle management, modules for service lifecycle management, things like requirements management, compliance, multi-BOM and multi-CAD, and many, many more. So Teamcenter is one of the very rich multi-domain application solutions out there that allows you to have a lot of flexibility in terms of what you need to do when you need to do it. Certainly, we would not expect any one company to use all of the modules provided available with Teamcenter, but you want to have the flexibility that when you need a capability, you know that you can go and bring it on board and bring it on board rapidly. And that's part of the redesign, the evolution of Teamcenter X particularly, to allow you to do that, particularly on board rapidly when you're using a cloud delivered environment. One of the other things that's really important for companies is that fact that you need to make it easier for your users. A lot of work went into what's called Teamcenter Assistant. This is an AI-driven capability, uses command prediction. It follows the user, and as they do actions, it remembers them, and it figures out what they did next. And then it begins to follow and say, oh, you just did this. These are the things that you probably will do next, so that it brings them up. The user can go to them immediately and reduce the amount of effort that it takes for them to do something. A lot of the research has shown so far in statistics that Siemens states that it's been able to reduce the mouse clicks of an end user in terms of working with Teamcenter by up to 30%, because they've got this predictive capability that uses that. So it's really one of the things that you want, as we talked about in solutions. Not only do you want to provide good solutions, you want to make them easier to use and easier for people to adopt. So we get toward the end, one of the things that I really want to emphasize, that Teamcenter X is Teamcenter. It is not a subset. It is all the capabilities that you know about Teamcenter, and it's available to them no matter where a company chooses to implement. So anything that's done, all the advancements that have gone into developing Teamcenter X are available to all Teamcenter customers. They share a common code base. So Teamcenter on-premise and Teamcenter X, you have the same and common code base. You can run hybrid implementations of on-premises and cloud environments, and then migrate at your own pace. So if you kind of look at the graphics as, are they both full? Yes. Who operates them though is different. If you're running Teamcenter on-premise, you as a customer probably are responsible for your operations. In the cloud, Siemens SaaS operations takes over and does that. If you're doing upgrades, you're probably responsible unless you hire somebody to come in and do an upgrade. On Teamcenter X, Siemens is going to do the upgrades and be responsible. Obviously, you have different purchase options, perpetual or subscription. It's SaaS on Teamcenter X. Microservices are embedded in both. Remember, I said they share a common code base. Containerized deployments are available in Teamcenter X, and that's an evolution that's going to be been placed into on-premise Teamcenter. Cloud service are certainly not part of on-premise, but it's definitely the function in the core of Teamcenter X. So one of the real keys is that ability to have a hybrid environment. If you're a current Teamcenter on-premise customer, you can continue to run that. If you want to begin to migrate to Teamcenter X, or maybe put some modules of Teamcenter in the cloud, you can do that and run in a hybrid mode. Or if you decide you want to migrate to a full cloud implementation, you can do that when you decide to do that. It's maintained by Teamcenter, by Siemens SaaS operations. So all the hardware requirements, all the upgrades, the maintenance and upgrades of Teamcenter X are maintained by Siemens. Customers are freed from operational management. Always up to date everywhere. They maintain that. Help you migrate. There are tools for migration from Teamcenter to Teamcenter X, and from Teamcenter X to Teamcenter X when you're migrating these customized and specific company-specific applications and personalizations. And as I said before, you can migrate at any time, at any pace, to any scope, whether it's a few users, thousands of users, it's one or two modules of Teamcenter, or many of the functional modules of Teamcenter. You have that option to do that. One of the things that you can do if you want to try this out, if you're not sure it makes sense for you, there's a 30-day, Siemens is offering a 30-day try before you buy. It includes ACAD integration, so you can try that. You don't have to set it up, and there are a variety of capabilities and workflows and things, and also access to Siemens personnel to help trial users be guided through learning about and how to use Teamcenter X. So let's wrap this up, and then we'll take some questions. So in dealing with the ever-increasing complexity, you need a modern solution. We talked about all the different complexities, all the challenges that companies were facing, and why you need a modern solution and the characteristics of that solution. You've got to do that. You need continuous innovation. If you're going to be a competitive manufacturer today, a business that's going to stay ahead of their competition, you need to be able to do continuous innovation. You need technology that you can upgrade and environments and infrastructure that you can upgrade at your pace when you need it without having to pay a lot of money to rip and replace what you've already done. You need adaptable evolution. You want to be able to leverage that investment. So you need that open architecture. It's got to cover the extended enterprise. You've got to be able to create an open ecosystem. So that you can use what you need when you need it. You're not going to get it all from one vendor, and your partners are already going to make other choices anyway. So you really want this capability to have that open ecosystem. You want that ability to start up quickly, so you can get going and you can get fast, rapid return on your ROI, on the investment that you're making. And you want to be able to grow at your pace when you need it, as you need it. You don't want to be able to do that full life cycle digital thread. You can't get that innovation, that continuous innovation. You can't create those innovative products. You can't improve your customers' experience of working with your product unless you can create a full digital thread and a full comprehensive digital twins, and that those stay in sync over time. And you obviously want to be able to personalize that environment. So Teamcenter X is that modern solution, fully functional SaaS implementation. We think Siemens has done a really good job of going through this evolution of bringing Teamcenter forward and providing those characteristics. It's cloud delivery, delivers all the types of things you expect from SaaS and cloud delivery, instant on, rapid growth, scalability, those types of things. It has always supported that lifecycle digital thread and supports those digital trends. One of the things that it does is it builds on that strength of Siemens to help you leverage your ongoing technology. They continue to make investments that expand the technology and embed them into their solution, and they have a leave no customer behind investment protection philosophy. There are concerned, Siemens is concerned to make sure that when you become a Siemens customer and you're spending your hard-earned and your scarce resources with them, that you get the most out of them, and they want to make sure that they can help you take that forward. So one of the things that we look at when you're looking at complex challenges, that you're looking at the world today, if you're a manufacturing enterprise, if you're making an evaluation of solutions that you need, one of the ones that you should look at is Teamcenter X. So with that, I hope you've gotten something out of this, and now I'll turn it back over to Cheryl for questions.
Ken, we have quite a few questions to get through. The first of those is, my company is an on-premise user of PLM. Are there any cost savings to be realized if we move to a cloud SaaS delivery for PLM?
Yes, and there are a lot of things that going to the cloud can help you in terms of cost. Certainly, you'll require less IT resources. You won't have to support the IT infrastructure, so you won't be forced to hire people that are going to doing the operational types of things and doing the backups and things of that nature. You'll eliminate also because if you're on premise, you're probably responsible for the maintenance of your applications, things of that nature. When you go to a delivery like a Teamcenter X, a SaaS application in the cloud, the vendor takes over responsibility for that. So they're going to own the maintenance aspects of it and the upgrade aspects of it. So you've cut out hardware, you've cut out resources, and it becomes an ability to enable you to take those funds that you were spending on that and divert them to developing better products, hiring more people that you need to do that. So yes, you can gain some significant cost savings by moving to a cloud implementation.
Thanks, Ken. The next question. I'm a current Siemens customer, and will I be required to move to Teamcenter X?
No, not at all. As I said before, you can run anywhere you want. Teamcenter still remains full Teamcenter as you have it. It's sharing a common code base with Teamcenter X. It will be continued to evolve and grow. It will continue to get new capabilities. If you ever decide in the future you want to go to Teamcenter X, you can certainly do that. But there is no push or no reason that you have to move, or no pressure for you to move from Teamcenter to Teamcenter X.
Thanks, Ken. Next question. Why does CIMdata think new modern PLM solutions are providing good benefits?
Well, there's a couple reasons for that. If you look at that, it's a complex world. You've got to deal with things like that. So you need improved flexibility to do that. And that's one of the things that the modern solutions are doing. They're offering improved flexibility in terms of what you need, what you implement, how you implement it, the ability to adapt it more quickly. You don't have to do certain things. You get an architecture, an environment that can grow with you more easily and at less cost. It's embedding new technology in there, things like AI and AR. So you gain some really benefits for your end users in terms of helping them work within those environments. So a modern environment and a platform, particularly platform-based modern environments, allow you to have that long-term growth capability and reduce the amount of cost and expense that you have when you want to evolve and bring your business forward.
Thanks, Ken. Next question. You mentioned intellectual property in your presentation. Is there a risk to using PLM on the cloud?
That's been one of the great questions that we've dealt with for a long time about the cloud. When we first started talking about going to PLM in the cloud, everybody said, oh no, I can't do that. I can't put my intellectual property up in the cloud. It's at risk, somebody will get it. So we started looking at that and asking, you ask a few simple questions. Well, do you use Salesforce? And a lot of companies do. Said, well, that's in the cloud. So you got all your customer information stuff in the cloud. You look at financial transactions. They're almost always handled in the cloud. So, you begin to look around and you begin to see a lot of company critical, enterprise critical things were already running in the cloud. Other people say, well, I've got really, I'm in the Department of Defense and I just can't do that. Even the Department of Defense has developed a cloud capability that meets their security standards. The other thing that's important to note is that The cloud providers were aware of this issue also, whether it was Amazon or Microsoft or IBM or Alibaba or whoever. They understood that people were concerned about that. One of the things that each of them has done is spent tremendous amounts of resources and money and hired expertise to create very strong security protocols that span all aspects of their cloud environment. So in reality, most cloud environments probably have better security than any individual company itself can afford to implement or produce. So we're very comfortable today with the security and the intellectual property protection that any of the major cloud providers deliver. And so, I think we're beginning to see the acceptance of that by more and more companies going to the cloud saying, yes, it is a secure environment. I can put my intellectual property up there and be safe with it.
Thanks, Ken. We've got a couple of minutes left, and so this will be our last question. Who else is providing cloud solutions?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Cheryl. You know, I've been talking about Siemens and Teamcenter X, but there's certainly all of the major PLM vendors are providing some level of cloud capability and moving products to the cloud. Certainly a company like Autodesk was an early mover to there. They deliver only that. PTC is moving everything that they do to SaaS delivery. Other vendors are offering capabilities in the cloud. They may not be fully cloud native. They may not offer everything there, but they're certainly year after year putting more and more capabilities there to give you options. You look at Siemens, Teamcenter X, obviously a very big evolutionary step for them, but they also have other of their products that are running in the cloud, whether it's NX or for CAD or MindSphere for IoT. A variety of things like that. So companies are moving to the cloud, you know, and we see more and more of them doing that. I think that the main thing about that is to make sure that whoever you look at is that they have the capabilities that you need in order to run your business. So, but I think that we're going to see more and more cloud capability from all of the vendors. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for participating and spending your time with me today, and I hope this was helpful for you.